Good morning, everyone. It's Christmas, and I'm actually going to be alone for the entire day, probably tomorrow as well. I've never had a Christmas completely by myself like this before, so it's going to be kind of interesting. My friends are all out of town, and my family lives on the East Coast and down in California, and flights right now are just crazy expensive, so I decided that it would be better to stay put. And it turns out it's actually a really good thing that I did, because we're about to get hit with a snowstorm. We should be getting about 4 inches, it sounds like, by Monday. Snow forecasts around here aren't exactly the most accurate things, but it will be about, 10 to 20 degrees outside for the next week. So if I had left, I probably would have been stuck away, and I really need to be working right now. Of course, I have the next couple of days off because it's one of the few holidays that Amazon takes, but really this next week of income is going to be really important for me, so I'm actually really happy that things have worked out the way they have. I was planning on going to a state park, but with the weather being the way that it is, I know the roads aren't really going to be passable for the next couple of days, so I'm just going to hang out here in the parking lot at work, and I have a lot of stuff to get done in here. I've been neglecting cleaning, and so the whole place is just kind of a mess. I've already started cleaning this morning. My bed is finally cleared off again, and I just haven't had a chance to organize anything for the last several weeks, so it's going to be really good to get this whole place cleaned up and organized, and I'll be settled in for the cold weather. The other good thing is, because I'm at work, there's a gas station like half a mile away, so I'm not too concerned about running out of diesel for my heater, but I am concerned about running out of gas for my generator. I did refill both a couple of days ago on my day off, but I do know that my generator is going to use a fair amount of fuel if I have to keep the heater on like this for any length of time. But I'm not shutting the heater down because it takes so much energy to power it up again, and it is cold outside, so the heater's just going to stay on probably for the next week, and we'll see how that goes. In other really good news, I finally got an offer for my car from Vroom, and it's basically for the exact amount that I owe on it, and I'm going to take it. It's a perfect opportunity. The only issue I'm going to have now is actually getting to the storage unit within the next week to take a picture of the registration and the odometer, things like that. And then, of course, whenever they show up to actually pick it up, I'll have to make that trip up there. But my work schedule was rearranged so that I'm getting the same number of hours, even though there's 3 holidays over the next 2 weeks. I only have 1 day off this week, so I'm going to be driving up later this week to get all the paperwork sorted out for my car so I can unload that thing and save myself a good, $600 a month. And then the car will finally be gone, and I can move storage units and save myself another $100 right there. And then once I get the car sorted out over the next week, then really all I have to do is wait for my next paycheck to come in, and so that will have the remainder of my holiday pay on it, and we'll see where I'm at that point. I'm likely to be able to take a trip, no problem. I also have tax returns that I'm going to have. I didn't have much self-employment income this year, unlike previous years, so I actually will have a return. I don't know exactly how much, but it will be something, which is better than any time in the last 5 years. So between all those things, I should be set up pretty well for a good trip in January. The only issue that might come up is if the weather continues to stay like this and it's really cold, I might not be able to go anywhere just because the roads are just going to be too bad. Well, the snow definitely started a little bit later than I was expecting. I spent most of the day yesterday, I don't know, not doing much of anything productive, but it was Christmas, so who cares? And I woke up this morning and there was snow in the forecast, and my phone was showing there was snow going on outside, but I can't actually see out my windows, so let's go outside and see exactly what happened overnight. There must be some amount of snow out, because I can't see out my windshield. Yeah, definitely a good solid snow out here. Looks like there's, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches, which is a lot of snow for this area of the world. Well, I'm gonna eat breakfast. That's definitely a lot more snow than they were expecting, but doesn't really matter too much. I just cleaned off all the snow I could off the bus in case I eventually have to go somewhere and it's still freezing out, which is likely. But I need to refill my diesel heater, eat breakfast, and then I might go exploring some more. Well, the temperature's really dropped out here, but it's still snowing. I think we have, I don't know, 5 inches, maybe 6. It's pretty good. That's kind of interesting. I noticed my camera was starting to have some issues with the cold. I don't know if it was just the battery voltage was dropping, but battery voltage is back to normal now, so I don't know what that was, but basically everything started going dark and the contrast started disappearing, and then it started having troubles focusing. So I decided to bring my camera back into the bus where it's a little bit warmer, and it seems to be working fine again, so I don't know what that was about. Just must not like the cold weather. Back inside the bus here, it's actually perfectly warm. I am kind of wondering about my heater controls. It's saying that it's 12 degrees in here right now, but it feels just like room temperature. So I kind of wonder if it's actually reading the temperature down at the heater unit itself, not at the controls. It seems unlikely, but I don't know what else could explain that. I've noticed that before. It's just reading a colder temperature than it actually is. But it doesn't matter too much because I'm controlling the heater manually right now. I'm running it at about 1.8 to 2 pulses per second, and that's about 2/3 of the maximum heat output of this heater, and it's perfectly warm in here, so I don't know what's going on there, but I just want to make sure that I'm using the correct amount of fuel for the next couple of days, and that way I'm guaranteed to have enough fuel and electricity to get me through the coldest weather. Well, it's the next day here. My phone says that it's about 13 degrees outside. I believe that because my heater it's not running on full or anything, but at 2/3 power, it's 6 degrees Celsius inside the bus, which is plenty warm for my bed, my sleeping bag, or anything, and I can always dress just fine for that kind of weather, but it's still not quite room temperature. I'm gonna use the last of my diesel to fill up my tank, and today I'm going to have to go out and get more gasoline for my generator and more diesel for my heater. Last time I experienced weather this cold, I was living in Maine, and this would have been more like normal winter. But out here, 13 degrees, it's tied with the coldest that I've experienced in Western Washington. This should be the coldest day, and it should warm up from here, so we'll see how it goes. They also canceled work because, you know, everything's frozen. I don't think most of these vans could get out of the parking lot even if they tried. My bus probably could, and some of the larger step vans, they probably could move. And we have a couple of vans with off-road tires, which have a decent shot of being able to get out of here. Yep, no work. Hopefully that'll start back up again soon, but at least I have a buffer now for money, and I don't have to worry about it too much. Well, I decided to go outside and see what it's like out here. It's about 15 degrees now, so we've warmed up a little bit. The snow's compacted down a little bit as well, so it's only a few inches now. Not as bad. And it does look like the snowplow has run down the main road, so that's always a good sign. Didn't put any sand down or anything, but, you know, it's a start. The roads are looking good enough out there that I think I'm going to try to actually drive the bus to the grocery store and to the fuel station, get everything refueled. I'm definitely a little bit low on fuel, so I'm just going to wait a couple hours for it to warm up. It's still only about 15 degrees outside, but it looks like it should warm up to about 20 this afternoon. So I'm going to wait for that a little bit warmer weather that will give my bus the best chance of starting, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, let's see if we can start the bus up. It's only about 20 degrees, so see what happens. I'll let the glow plugs run twice, assuming that any of the glow plugs are even working, which I'm not entirely confident about. If this doesn't work, then I have other alternatives as well to help get the bus started. Alright, so we're running, but pretty sure we're not firing on all cylinders here. Yeah, it's starting to smooth out. Alright, all the cylinders are running now. So I'm actually giving it a little bit of throttle here to keep it operating. I'll do that for a minute here. We'll see if once things smooth out a little bit and it can idle on its own, then I'll back up on the throttle. But I don't think it's going to idle on its own right now. Well, it took a minute, but we're idling mostly. It does this when it's a little bit cold. It'll sometimes cut out for just a second. Definitely the coldest start that I've had on it. But I'm just going to let it idle here for a little while. I have windows to clear off, things to stow away, so I want to give it as much time as I can to warm up, because I know this engine doesn't perform its best when it's absolutely cold, and it's going to take a minute. So all that ice that's left on the window is actually on the inside. Alright, so the engine's sounding pretty good. All the ice is cleared off. I think I'm pretty much ready to go. My biggest concern actually is just the other drivers on the road. I'm sure this bus will handle it just fine. Right before I started it up the bus, there was some guy doing donuts in the corner of the parking lot, so, you know, not exactly confidence expiring. Well, I just tried moving, and my bus is stuck. I'm gonna have to see if I can figure out exactly what I'm stuck on here. I didn't see too many obstacles. It didn't look like there were any snow piles in front of the tires or anything, so look around and see what's going on. Well, the tires look like they're okay. Looks okay back here. The only other thing I can think of is that the emergency brake is on and not releasing for some reason, so maybe I'll mess with that a few times. Yep, pretty sure that was a stuck brake. Once it popped free, then I'm moving fine now. So, time to hit the road. Well, I made it to the grocery store. There weren't too many crazy drivers out there. Definitely a few people that were driving a little faster than their cars could handle and were sliding a bit, but they were far away from me, fortunately. So, first of 2 stops, and we'll see if we survive making it to the gas station. Well, I made it back safely. I got some fuel. People driving on the way back were definitely not driving quite as well as on the way to Trader Joe's, but you know, the roads aren't actually that bad, even though they are completely covered in snow. I got called in to work tomorrow, which is good since I'm already here. So we'll see how that goes. The weather's going to be staying in the 20s, so the snow's not going anywhere. They don't really remove the snow around here. I did see some snow plows driving around, so that was a good sign. I also saw that a few of them had ended up in a ditch, which isn't a good sign when the snowplow was in the ditch, but that's okay. This really does feel like the weather I experienced when I lived in Maine, so I'm actually fairly well prepared for it. And I'm also happy that my heater is performing as well as it is. I have plenty of fuel for it now and plenty of power for my generator, so I'm all set there. So I'll let you know how this week goes. I'm definitely going to try and get up to Cedar Woolley probably Thursday and get my car taken care of, so that should be an adventure, and hopefully there isn't any new snow by then and the roads are a little bit clearer. So thank you for watching.